I've spent the past 7 years climbing plastic and rock boulders with more losses than wins under my belt. I'm here to share with you some considerations before your first day at the climbing gym. I started as a wee little V2 climber and now working my way to send my first V9. More importantly, I've spent the entirety of my short climbing career actively recruiting friends to the gym. And each time, my educator brain has tried to synthesize tidbits of info to prepare my friends before and during their first gym trip. I've done my best to make this easily digestible for new climbers out there. So without further ado, let's get into it. Start with some disclaimers. First things first, I'm a man. So when I'm talking about these social interactions, they might be a little bit different for men versus women or anything in between or outside. Guys are horny, it is what it is. Second disclaimer, I've mostly climbed in LA gyms. I have experienced some out of state gyms as well as one time out of the country. So some of my points about vibes or gym protocols may vary depending on your gym. I will be focusing primarily on bouldering in this video. However, if you are interested in climbing ropes, much of the information that I'm providing here will be applicable with the exception of a few additional accessories. I will do my best to avoid using jargon, but at times it is inevitable. For the purposes of clarity, here are some words that I will be using and their definitions on the screen. So you've decided to take the plunge and go to a climbing gym, whether it was for an event, your friend invited you, or you're trying out something new. Congratulations. Hopefully you get addicted like me. First thing you're probably wondering is, what do you wear? Well, you're going to work out. So I would suggest anything that you would normally wear to the gym is probably a good call. I would wear something stretchy, loose, something that will not restrict your movement. In LA, people are cool, so you will see people fitted down, looking fresh, or coming straight from work in a polo and some jeans, getting it in. Whatever suits you will work. Just be aware, you will be up in the sky on the stage, so people will be looking at your body, your booty, and you're fit. Now, I do like to keep it cute, so I will keep a necklace on, some jewelry like a bracelet, but I would suggest leaving the rings at home, as when you're grabbing onto the holds, it will hurt. One thing I will say about the bracelets is I have cheese grated my skin off when grabbing a particular hold, and so just be aware that the bracelet could get in the way as well, but climb at your own risk. Nail length. For my nail girlies out there, I would be careful. The easier holds that you'll likely want to try when you first start will be nail friendly, but there will be situations where the hold is small and close to the wall, therefore risking those cute little press-ons you bought. Interestingly, some gyms do have nail clippers. Ew. So if you need to, you can use those. For sanitary purposes though, I do not. You must absolve the gym of any legal repercussions in case of an injury via a waiver. So you can likely fill it out online before you get there or fill it out once you arrive. Upon arrival, then you will be busting out the plastic to spend some money. You gotta get in, and that costs money. So you're gonna have to pay for a day pass, or if you're feeling hella bold, you can already commit to a membership. Day passes generally range from $20 to $35. Sometimes members will get discounts, if not get you in for free, so be sure to ask your homie if they got the plug. Rental shoes are essential. If you're lucky and you go with a friend who happens to have a spare pair of climbing shoes at the exact same size, then I would recommend using those. Usually, folks choose one size smaller than their normal size, but I've found that true to size is more pleasurable for my climbing experience. I would recommend trying them both on, and just keep in mind, discomfort is okay, as the point is to have your foot super snug so that you can feel your toes balancing on small plastic edges. Also keep in mind, rental shoes are not usually the most grippy, as they're getting used and abused constantly and not often replaced. So we'll talk about why that matters later, but just something to keep in mind. Next are two optional rental options. One is rental chalk. If you're going with a friend, just use theirs. If you're going by yourself, definitely would recommend getting some chalk. After you have secured your rental goodies, you will then possibly be required to do some sort of training or onboarding. I've only been to one gym where they required this, regardless of your experience, your background, but just keep that in mind. Generally, they're gonna give you an overview of the physical gym layout, what climbing means, so like the grades, as well as probably give you a short training on how to fall, which is very important. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of climbing, let's talk about the social environment. What are the vibes like at a climbing gym? In my experience, the vibes are pretty chill. They're generally social in that folks are willing to talk, but of course it's not mandatory that you talk as a climber. I'm more of a headphones in type of guy, but plenty of folks are ready to strike up a conversation at any given point. If you're wearing rentals, people will probably notice that you're a newbie, okay? And that's all right. Usually when I see that, it signals to me I need to be a little bit more cautious because they're generally not looking around them. And depending on the gym, you may be more prone to what we call beta spraying. What that means is people telling you how to solve the problem or the climb. And for some people, that's okay. For others, that's just downright disrespectful. So when in doubt, zip it up. Unless asked. In terms of vibes, climbing culture is generally left-leaning politically, as its history is rooted in counterculture. Of course, this will vary, but at least local to my Los Angeles gyms, climbers do lean a little hippie. So your conservative values are likely to be tested. Men climbing with no shirts, tampons in the men's bathroom, women's legs and armpits with hair, and affinity groups for marginalized communities. Spooky. Welcome to the climbing world where inclusivity and body positivity is making a comeback. If that ain't your thing, respectfully close the video. So as I mentioned earlier, you will be up on the wall, and because only so many people can be on the wall at once, if you're not climbing, you're usually observing. Therefore, you will be observed, aka everyone's watching you. Kinda, not really. Okay, depending on how busy or how small the gym is, you might actually be up on the stage where people have no choice but to look at you. And if you are, don't be surprised if you get a couple, "Come on." I've never said it like that. That was crazy. If you are on the stage, don't be surprised if you get a few, "Come on." "Nice. You got it. Come on. Come on." People love to hype other climbers up. Just take it with a grain of salt. I know that stresses some people out, but it's just kind of part of the fun. Because when you send something on the stage, ooh, it's sweet. If you do go by yourself, don't be scared to ask questions. I know that might be asking a lot from my non-social folks, but in my experience, climbers in the gym are generally open to conversations about climbing and more than willing to show you how much better they are by telling you how to complete the climb. Okay, it's usually not that nefarious. Depending on your height, your weight, your strength, your beta will vary. So don't be mad at yourself if the tips that somebody gives you isn't working for you. Just stay on the wall and keep trying things out until you figure something out that works for you. Now, let's talk about gym etiquette. One of the biggest things that new climbers struggle with is being aware of their surroundings. When you go to climb a climb, before you go climb the climb, you want to assess where does the climb start, then look over to the left, right, up and down around it to see where other climbs or routes start and end. Oftentimes, climbs intersect. So before you actually begin, make sure that nobody is going to be climbing in your path or that you're not going to be crashing into somebody on your way up or on your way down. So being aware of your surroundings not only applies to when you are about to go and are actually up on the wall, but also while you're walking around. Look up, people. Sometimes people will be climbing above you. Turn around, people. Sometimes someone's climbing behind you. Gyms come in various sizes and spaces, and I've been in some where it's unavoidable to be climbing near people, or the opposite, where there's so much space you don't really have to pay too much attention. So just keep in mind that your gym will dictate how aware you need to be of your surroundings, but always be aware of your surroundings. Last point on awareness, please make space for other people to climb, not just from a safety perspective, but generally after one attempt at a climb, you should back off the wall and allow someone else to hop on, especially if it's busy. If you fall super quick on like your first attempt, it's usually pretty chill just to like run it back. But overall, you want to allow other people to work in between your attempts. Nothing's more frustrating than when someone's standing on their problem for 5 minutes straight. Okay, like step back, bruh. Step back, recover your stamina, think about some moves, and wait your turn. Of course, if the gym is empty, do your thing, run it back. Let's quickly review the grading system. Indoor bouldering and outdoor bouldering goes by the V scale. Without explaining its history, all you gotta know is V0 or B for beginner is the easiest, and V up to, I've seen like 12, 13, 14, 15 plus is harder. One thing to keep in mind about grades is that the V scale is subjective. The guy who created it actually came out and sort of denounced it, funny enough. So although it is a helpful indicator of how difficult the climb may be, don't let that stop you from putting hands on the hold, baby. You might surprise yourself. And the opposite is true. Don't get overly confident because a grade is below where you think you can climb, because you will get quickly humbled. Generally, climbs are indicated by their color. Every gym will have a different system, so be sure to check in with the front signage or even the gym staff to see how their routes are delineated or marked. I've seen some gyms that go off of each color equals a grade, or the tag is the grade and the color is irrelevant. I've seen gyms that have colors that mark a range of grades, which I prefer. Either way, the grades are really just meant to give you a sense of progression and give you an idea of the types of moves or the level of difficulty that may be involved in a particular climb. There's definitely a lot more to be said about the grading system, but we'll leave it at that since this is your first time. All you gotta know is just try stuff. Put hands on holds, baby. Now that we've established the vibes, logistics, let's go over the mental game. Climbing is 50% mental, I think. First thing that I like to tell my friends is that you're probably gonna suck, and that's okay. Climbing works out parts of your body that you probably neglect. Forearms, calves, hips, your back. All of those things will be put through the burner on your first time on the wall. I usually tell my friends they probably won't really feel progress or that they're getting better until the third or fourth time climbing. Of course, you'll get mini wins in your first sesh just by learning what's going on, but don't hold yourself to a crazy standard where you need to be showing ridiculous improvement in your first 1 or 2 sessions. Efficient climbing requires body movement that isn't intuitive, meaning in order to be efficient with your energy on the wall where you're not using up a lot of precious energy, the movements that are required from efficient climbing don't come natural. So it does take practice to get some of these moves down, and we'll talk about some of those in the next section. Next, if you are scared of heights, I suggest still climbing, but first and foremost, get a feel for what it's like to fall on the mats. I've been to gyms where the mats are like a mattress or a pillow, and it's super chill to fall on. Some of the more hardcore rugged gyms do have a more firm pad, but you will be safe if you land correctly. I won't go over the correct protocol. Will I? Should I? So what you want to do when falling is embrace the fall. Not physically like stretch your arm out or flail. Instead, allow your body's momentum to land on the ground. If you've ever seen a Spider-Man or a Superman just lands and just smashes. A Batman, when he lands and rolls, just like in parkour, people. So that's what you want to do. You want to sort of displace the energy when possible. You probably won't be jumping from that high where you have that much energy to displace. However, it is important that you do not stiffen up your arms or legs, as your joints will absorb all of the fall and you will get hurt. And we don't want to get hurt, okay? At least not from falling. Another thing that I like to tell my friends if they're scared of heights is remember, your eyes are further from the ground than your feet. So when you're on the wall and you're looking down, it looks like you're gonna fall really far, but generally your feet are just a couple feet off the ground. And so falling down or jumping down won't be death. Last thing about the mental game, have fun. Depending on your fitness level, you might be strong enough to muscle your way up through a V4 or even land a sick, nasty, Instagrammable dyno. But the crimps, the pinches, the slopers, they're staring dead into your soul, ready to break you. Don't let them win. Instead, have fun while failing. So much of climbing is just failing and making incremental progress. You are competing against yourself and no one else. And a lot of people shy away from competition. And if you don't want to get better or improve or compete, that's cool too. Go there, get a workout in, or do what I do with my friends and spend majority of the time kikiing in the corner. And now that we've established our logistics, the vibes, the mental game, let's get on the wall. I've recruited many friends, and these tips seem to be the most helpful and common for my new climbers. The classic straight arms. We want straight arms while climbing, okay? I can explain to you why, but I don't think that's going to be very helpful. There's plenty of videos on that. Instead, be cognizant of your arms, because when you're bending your arm, you're using energy, precious energy. You want to be using your back, not your biceps, okay? New climbers tend to send with their eyes. Just like when you're on a ladder, you will likely look up and want to move your hands first. But efficient climbing is all about the legs. Try to get your feet and legs up as you climb before your hands. Something to keep in mind, usually if you're fully stretched out, you should have moved your feet up before. Another new tip that I've been implementing is it's okay to go off the route in the beginning. When you're first climbing, it's really not about improving or sending. It's just about getting a feel for the wall. So depending on how busy the gym is, it's okay to go off of route in the beginning. The goal for early sessions is to get a feel for the wall, to get a feel for the holds and build up that strength. And most importantly, build up the love and enjoyment of being on the wall, working out your mind, your body, and all that fun stuff. Next, try hard. Honestly, I'm a bit of a sweat when it comes to games and sports. So me personally, I like to push myself and my friends when possible or appropriate. Thankfully, none of us are going pro, okay? So in the end, it really ain't that deep. But one of the best feelings is proving your inner hater wrong by giving a troubling climb all you got. Sometimes difficult moves require intense effort. So lean into the try hard. Give a little grunt, sweat, complain, ask for beta. Do what you can to improve. It's okay. It's all part of the fun. Next, remember, your shoes are trash, okay? So if you're slipping off, it might be time to go get some climbing shoes, okay? No, really, rentals tend to be ass, TBH. Maybe your gym is different, I don't know. But the grip and surface area of rentals are not always ideal for strong climbing. Not an excuse, because I have seen people send in rentals and even with no shoes. But just keep that in mind. If you're looking for an excuse, blame the shoes. Please warm up. If you watch Magnus, he don't warm up. That ain't the wave. All of my injuries have come from not warming up. As a beginner, you should be nervous. And so to prepare your body for those nerves and the inevitable destruction that the wall is about to employ on you, warm up. Stretch out those forearms, your hips, your back, your lats. Everything that you know how to warm up, warm it up. And if it's your first time, you'll probably be starting on VB or V0. And honestly, that alone will provide a good warm up because the holds won't be super intense on your fingers. However, if you are bold enough to try the really skinny holes, really thin credit card looking holes that we call crimps, make sure that you warm up your fingers and don't try hard on your first go. Another tip, watch other climbers. Oftentimes when you're watching a climber try the problem that you're struggling on, you will learn something. As I mentioned earlier, we want to be climbing with our feet. So if you're watching somebody who's better than you, I would highly suggest watching how they move their feet. We all know how to grab a hold for the most part, but where you position your feet, your knees, your hips, all of those little micro details can unlock ascend, which is the goal. And you should not feel bad if you see me warming up on your project. Project is something that you're working on, generally that you've attempted multiple times and failed. So if you see somebody come and do it for the first time, don't take it personal. Just understand you have some work to do and you can learn, and it's all part of the process. Although I will say some people do that shit on purpose and that ain't cool. Finally, take your time. This is a little counterintuitive in our go Google Calendar era, but your body needs time in between climbing attempts to recover that sweet sending juice. For context, when folks are training their forearms, they wait about 3 minutes in between sets. So if you can give yourself about 3 minutes between attempts, you will be much more fresh per attempt and you will last longer in a session. The worst thing to do is have your forearms pulsing with pain and fatigue after your second attempt, which, to be honest, for you as a beginner is likely inevitable. So lean into the chill, find a bench, don't bust out your phone, watch climbers, and take mental notes. When do you stop? Well, this is a very subjective thing. I know a lot of folks just kind of come in and out. If it's your first session, just listen to your body. I would expect to spend about an hour to 2 hours, maybe even 3 if you're really vibing. You want to climb until your grip is completely shot, but not before you get hurt. Wait, you don't want to climb You don't want to climb to the point of injury, okay? I feel like that's a given for any workout that shouldn't be explained, but for legal purposes, do not climb to the point of injury. Lastly, skincare after climbing. So you will be chalking up throughout your session, and it is likely that after your first time climbing, the sandpaper material of the hold will leave your hands feeling raw and sensitive to touch. If you do have the means, or if you're with somebody who climbs, they might have a balm, like a hand balm. I generally apply that after a climb to keep the hands silky smooth. If you do not use lotion in your day-to-day life, this may be a new concept to you. If you do, it's the same concept. After you wash your hands, once you leave, which you better be doing, then try to find some lotion or try to find some balm to add to your hands to get them ready for the next sesh. So by this point, hopefully you're feeling a little bit more prepared before your first trip to the gym. Hopefully you've learned something today. If you did, let me know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Have fun, climb hard, have fun, have fun.